People who are trans, or who think they are trans, tend to go on puberty blockers in order to buy themselves time to see if they actually are trans or not. But during that time, they operate as trans to see if that is what works for them, or if they actually are cis and it's just a phase for them. Alrighty, so apparently we got to talk about the Spiderverse trailer because reasons, I guess. I wasn't aware that was a thing we're going to be talking about at any point, but you know, apparently it's important. Apparently it's important, at least according to young Rippa 59, who has a channel with 512,000 subscribers. So, let's go ahead and get into that. But first, the fan art section. This one is from Axo That Has Cream. Happy birthday, Suris. Yes, you are now cake. Well, all fan art is canon, so I guess I finally, after several months at the gym, have developed cake. Thank you also for the hydrate, axolotls. The next one we have is from Nami Neko. Second part of the bigger fan art piece I'm making. Got 3.5 characters to go. I might change the hammer to something else later on, or just make the hammer look better. For now, though, I think this is good. Really happy with how this looks. Also, since it is that time, happy birthday. Also forgot to say this is Slime Girl Suris specifically. Well, thank you very much, Nami, and thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, though, let's go ahead and get right into the video. After you subscribe, bell icon, stuff. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at this.
Now, I know this is going to be one of those where people are like, oh, you're just ragging on this because Miles Morales and yeah. No, this has not much to do with that character that I understand is many of y'all's favorite tokenized character.
Tokenized character. Miles Morales. Tokenized character. You know, the guy who literally took on the mantle of Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe for the longest time? Definitely a token. You know, definitely. Maybe you don't know the definition of token, but okay, sure. Why not?
That's not what this is about. This is just more so about what has...
We're going to speed you up a little bit. We're going to get you closer to Shapiro speeds.
Been making its rounds here. And I'll show you guys right here. Going to my topic screen. So in this trailer, you barely can see it here. It is, and that's going to be the kind of post move, is that, well, it's more subliminal and yada yada. But when you consider the actual subject here, the subject matter that we're discussing, it goes well beyond that. The fact that it's there, it is par for the course of what's going on in Hollywood. Now,
protect trans kids. That's what it says. Protect trans kids. That's fine. What's the problem with a flag that says protect trans kids? Most people who are trans find out that they are trans between the ages of 4 and 6. This is pretty well documented. People who are trans, or who think they are trans, tend to go on puberty blockers in order to buy themselves time to see if they actually are trans or not. But during that time, they operate as trans to see if that is what works for them, or if they actually are cis and it's just a phase for them. For them to figure that out, that's what the puberty blockers are for. It buys them that time. And then, for the duration of that time, and even afterwards, if we figure out that that's the case, the term we would use for them is trans kids. Now, there are people who will take umbrage to that particular way that I'm describing a kid and say that kids aren't trans because kids shouldn't transition! And you're right, but kids don't transition, at least not in the ways that you give a shit about. Most of the ways that you would, quote, transition a kid is socially. Going on puberty blockers is not transitioning. When we're talking about transitioning, we're talking about HRT, which is usually not given until the age of 16. We are talking about surgeries, which are usually not given until the age of 18. By that point, we're not talking about a kid anymore. We are talking about an adult. And when we're talking about somebody who's 16, we're talking about somebody who, at the very least, can make decisions like, I don't know, fucking drive. But okay, sure. 1 in 10 is an org for these kids. The name says it all. So a trans girl was always a girl. Transitioning just affirms what gender socially, then through surgery. regardless of what's an individual person's position on this is, the moniker trans kids is a perfectly apt descriptor. So when we're talking about protect trans kids, what are we talking about? Well, just like a kid might realize that they're gay earlier on, and we have to make sure that they will be safe and protected in a world that largely, for the longest time, was not very kind to kids that were gay, there was arguments made that, oh no, kids can't be gay. But yes, they fucking can. I knew that I liked booba the ripe old age of 10. I knew at that point. Said it's better now. It's not perfect, but it's better now, and that's inarguable. It is inarguable that we are in a better spot now than we were 10, 20 years ago. So we still see people making those arguments, see Florida? Yeah, we do. We do see that, like the Don't Say Gay Bill is a thing. We do see that shit happening still now. It's better now than it has been, but we still have a long way to go. So, just like protecting gay kids was an important thing to do, protecting bi kids was an important thing to do, protecting trans kids is an important thing to do, and any argument that tries to say that, oh, well, kids can't be this is an argument based in naivete and not listening to the actual things those kids are saying.
Now, you'll see in the room right here, there is it's a flag, looks like a trans flag, and it says protect trans kids. Okay, I've made this point many, many times. There's no such thing, okay? And
there are trans kids. I literally just went on an entire tangent explaining why a kid would be considered trans. Again, trans just means not cis. Any kid that doesn't identify with the gender they're assigned at birth, they are trans. Now, whether they actually decide to transition is a different story, but a person who does not identify as the gender they are assigned at birth, that is a trans person. That's what that is. Because trans is not short for transition when we're talking about this. Trans just means not cis.
Yeah, Hollywood's infested with these freaking weirdos. It's not at all surprising.
Weirdos, just people who are trans. Noted weirdos, I guess.
Slippery slope was never a slope. It was more akin to a cliff where you had a free fall.
And wow, slippery slope, the fallacy. Congratulations.
Said they were going to be coming for your children, and people, they said they were religious zealots.
I mean, they were religious zealots. They are religious zealots.
They were off base when they would say that. That's kind of where we were going, the direction. Well, they were certainly correct here. This is a Sony project as well. I know some people are like, I wouldn't see No Way Home because I wasn't giving Disney all the money. At least I gave some to Sony's. Unfortunately, with their pictures and their other properties, they're doing a lot of the same stuff. At least the American Sony Pictures and whatnot. And look.
Also, Fennec, thank you very much for redeeming your points for an well. But okay.
I hate that this is a conversation that we have to have a discussion about. But it is a very serious one because you have people that are actively acting as if this is something that needs to be normalized.
I mean, it does need to be normalized. Kids are just kids, and sometimes kids are gay. Sometimes kids are trans. There's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, allowing a support network for those kids is important in making sure that they are able to figure out who they are in an environment that will not harm them. Protecting kids is a good thing. So, when you're like, this is bad, this is people coming for your kids. Now, shut the fuck up. You're an idiot.
And that is child mutilation. That is doing things to their bodies that...
Child mutilation? You mean like circumcision? I'm sorry. It's not child mutilation, because that's not a thing we're doing. Fucking surgeries are not happening en masse on fucking kids. That's not a thing that's happening, my guy.
Is irreversible. When you talk about like double mastectomies, which absolutely is happening to young people...
That to young people. Okay, but are we talking about kids? Double mastectomies. Are we talking about kids? Also, double mastectomies happen in early onset breast cancer patients as well when they are children. Actually, that's what puberty blockers were designed for in the first place. So, I mean, this is a surgery that was being used in that case anywho. Also, double mastectomies. You know that's a thing that it's not the biggest deal in the world. Top surgery is one thing. Bottom surgery is an entirely different thing. Top surgery... I'm just going to go ahead and be honest and say it. If somebody regrets top surgery, if somebody regrets a double mastectomy, they have the option of getting breast implants. They have the option of doing that. Top surgery is largely cosmetic, if that's a thing they actually regret. But again, we're not really doing that en masse to fucking kids. So,
This is stuff that is irreversible. Even some of the like hormonal or puberty blockers and all that, it has the side effects that can absolutely have issues, let's say that.
Okay, have issues, let's say that. So what are the fucking issues then, my guy? Maybe say what the issues are. Maybe it would be a good idea if you want to talk about this to actually say the things they are. I'll be willing to say what the side effects of puberty blockers are. Bone density. Wow, that's about it. That's really the biggest thing we have. Calcium deficiency. That's mainly what happens with puberty blockers, which is actually a thing that happens with people who just have late onset puberty. Puberty blockers literally just create late onset puberty. That's what they do. So when you say, like, side effects of HRT, well, the side effects of HRT are largely the side effects of having those hormones in the body. You know what also creates that? PCOS. PCOS causes testosterone to be in the body more often and received in the body more often than you would normally expect in a cis female. But okay, sure. I'll say what the side effects are. Can you?
And people, I mean, at minimum, even if, no matter who you are, at minimum, we should be able to accept that, look, the children should stay away from that. This is not something that needs to be, if they want to make that decision as an adult, you can, of course, are free to disagree or agree with it. However, you know, that's their ultimate decision to make as an individual and as an adult.
Okay, cool. Then shut the fuck up about it. I mean, if that's going to be your take, then maybe it's not worth talking about.
Doesn't mean everybody has to agree with it. That doesn't mean everybody has to like it. They can think you're a fool, but it's your body. And if you want to do something goofy like that, that's your business. But that's not what it is that we're discussing. And that's not the angle that
I like how the angle he's using is like, if you want to do something goofy like that. Guy, there are people who engage in a variety of cosmetic surgeries to make themselves more comfortable with their bodies. There's nothing goofy about that. But, I mean, the minute it's a trans person, now suddenly it's goofy.
these people are taking. They are going after people's children.
No, they are not.
What should have been off limits, no matter where you're at ideologically, no matter where you're at politically or socially, it should have been understood that the key...
Shima Kagami, thank you so much for the raid! How was your stream? Also, if we think that kids should not be gone after ideologically, I want to agree. Kids are now banned from church. Kids are now banned from all churches. They are not allowed to step foot in any religious organization at all. Night Aquarius, thank you very much for the follow. They have to be. Like, if you're going to be consistent, don't interfere with a child's ideology. Don't do that. Okay, cool. Let's keep that consistency. Let's keep that going. And keep kids out of church. It is now illegal to have a kid in a church.
Kids, stay out of that. The kids, the children are not supposed to be a part of that. And they could not at least do that for you.
But again, here's the issue. There are situations where a kid needs to at least have the knowledge that this is a possibility for them or their body, because puberty blockers as a medicine, which again does not have any major side effects aside from, again, the bone density one, which can be treated with supplements. For somebody to know that that is even an option for them, they need to at least have had that conversation. Maybe it would be important to have this conversation with kids around the same time we are giving them things like sex ed. You know, right before the ye olde cusp of puberty, where we try to explain that, you know, kids should not be having sex, but they should at least know how to do it safely, because hormones are a thing. You know, just kind of important. Said Xander Hall triggered young Rippa. Good, this guy deserves to be triggered. Charlie Dompler, thank you very much for the 10 bits. Base opinion, church is boring as shit.
And look, the reason why this stuff is, you know why it's put in like a lot of the material, definitely that is more geared towards young people where this stuff is going. And it's quite disgusting, but it ultimately boils down to that they want to, it's not just normalization through culture, but they're using children to validate themselves.
Who's using children to validate themselves? Who's they? Is they just trans people? Is they just trans people? Are trans people using children to validate themselves? I don't see any real evidence of that. I don't.
And their line of thinking. And that's where it becomes disgusting. There's no such thing. When I hear people, the fact that we even having to discuss trans, it's not a such thing, dude. That is.
Yeah, there is. A kid who doesn't identify with their gender. Yeah. Gender assigned at birth. That's a trans kid. Just like a trans adult is just an adult that doesn't identify with their gender, they're assigned at birth.
It's not a such thing. And
Yes,
to see people try to gaslight. I talk about this on the Blaze all
Nobody's gaslighting you. We overuse that word and people have no idea what the fuck it even means anymore.
the time. It's the last one I'm gonna mention. It's insane how people have we've allowed these weirdos to try to weaponize self-harm.
It's not self-harm, though. How is taking a hormone supplement, which is something that cis people do all the fucking time, how is taking a hormone supplement self-harm? How is a cosmetic surgery self-harm? Burn victims do that all the fucking time. Hell, even people who aren't victims of anything, but just want their body to be a little different, do that all the time. You know what a cosmetic surgery is? You know what is a cosmetic surgery? A nose job. Is that self-harm? Is getting liposuction or getting cool sculpting, is that self-harm? They are procedures that are done surgically. Is that a self-harm thing as well? I would argue no. Not really. Surgery is surgery. LASIK eye surgery, that's a surgery. Is that self-harm?
Even though the data does not even show that once they transition, it's not, let's say, having an impact.
It does have an impact, though. It does. The data actually shows, and Hunter Avalon did a very wonderful video on this, the data actually shows that it does have a positive impact. What negates the positive impact is having a negative social environment around them that negatively affects their mentality when they come out as trans. Discord and Vol, thank you very much for the 100 bits. I appreciate it. Having that social environment, having that lack of social support, that is why there is a smaller effect with surgery, with everything else. The rate of happiness with trans surgery, though, is higher than the rate of happiness with, say, or the rate of complacency with, say, like, knee surgeries. My guy, you're making a lot of claims, but you are showing no evidence here. So I'm just going to sit at the exact same level, but I'll at least point to somebody who did a video that actually went over the articles that showed those claims. It was the Hunter Avalon video where he was responding to Matt Walsh, when Matt Walsh said that he hadn't read the studies, and Hunter went, actually, no, I did.
On how they feel about themselves.
Satisfaction, the rate of satisfaction favors trans care. That's the one I'm looking for. Thank you, Sakura.
In that regard. That's what the data's showing. Nonetheless, still having a lot of those problems. It's almost as if there's some underlying issues there.
Yeah, almost like the, social situation that they are involved in that you are actively aiding and abetting in potentially leads to the problems that you're talking about. I don't know. Maybe the research says that. Maybe you should go watch a video by a different content creator who, you know, went over that data.
Underlying issues. But it's not just so difficult to talk about. It's not just...
It's not difficult to talk about, actually. I do it all the fucking time. You're just inept.
It's not just that, right? It's like these guys will look at it like, well, and they're using the medical community to do it. Well, they're like saying, well, and this is how teachers get pimped, parents get pimped into doing this stuff and authorizing this, because they're like, well, if you don't validate themselves or validate them, right? We know how young people and how imaginative they can be, but if you don't validate that, then they might do something to themselves, and therefore you must do this. Like, this is insane.
And yet we have found that, just like with Alex's story, when we went over the Free Press article earlier today, that it turns out that no, doctors just showing you that rates of suicide exist is not the same thing as trying to compel you to make a decision one way or the other. But okay.
This is right. It's cultural decay that you're sitting here watching. And it's gonna...
And there's the fasci rhetoric whenever somebody does the whole, like, yeah, cultural decay is happening. I can't hear it in anything but fucking Mussolinian tone.
Take a cultural renaissance by way of people that are in the independent scene to stomp this stuff out. But if you're going to be waiting on Hollywood to change its course, I'd say you're an idiot, to be completely honest.
And that's it for his video, I guess. The last minute is dedicated to plugging his merch and shit. Huh, weird. That was I'm gonna go ahead and say it. That was one of the most inept responses to trans healthcare for kids that I've seen in a very long time. And I'm actually perfectly okay with the idea that Xander Hall has triggered this person. Let him do it more. I'm okay with that. This is the type of person that deserves that. Anyway, hello, Bingo. No, I'm not trans. I'm actually cis. I actually got this model because of fan art that was sent to me that gender bent me repeatedly. But welcome to the stream. How are you doing? It says, wow, discount quartering is Garbo person. Yeah, weird. Weird that. I lagged out and deleted the message 4 times. Yeah, apparently you did. But no, I am very cis, and I use a very, very female model. Yep, no different than playing a female character in a video game. Doesn't say anything about who you are. But anyways, this is where I gotta throw it back to you guys. Do you think young Rippa had a point? Or do you know what the studies actually say? As always, everybody, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. And insert in the video tagline here.